Every great adventure begins with a moment. A heartbeat that echoes before the first pedal stroke. At the bottom of Africa, beneath skies that stretch forever, a new chapter in cycling's storied history begins. This is the Nedbank Gravel Burn. 786 kilometers of dust, dreams, and discovery over 7 days. South Africa, a land defined by contrasts, where the shimmering ocean meets the dusty desert, where beauty meets brutality. Here, in the remote heart of the Eastern Cape, the birthplace of Nelson Mandela, a new kind of race unfolds. The Gravel Burn journeys through places few have ever ridden, a wide ochre-tinged landscape carved out by time and wind. For a week, it will test riders on a scale the gravel world has never seen. The race format caters for solo riders on drop handlebar bikes. There's neutral support at well-placed aid stations known as spud stalls on each stage where riders can get nutrition and mechanical assistance. The terrain is varied and will push the riders both physically and mentally, while also putting their mechanical skills and bikes to the test. The Nedbank Gravel Burn boasts the largest prize purse for a single gravel event in the world of $150,000. Each stage traverses a different world, lush forests, rugged mountain passes, and semi-desert and pristine wild reserves, ending with a Big 5 roam at Shamwari Private Game Reserve. Stage 1 from the coastal plain through forest and mountains is 84 kilometers from Knysna to Avontuur. The 2,050 meters of climbing makes it a truly testing introduction. Stage 2 at 108 kilometers heads deeper into the Great Karoo across expansive open plains to Willamore. The jewel of the Karoo beckons on Stage 3 as they ride 90 kilometers and climb 1,450 meters into the highlands of Frischknecht. The only out and back stage is the Kompasberg Loop on Stage 4 from Blauwater, 111 kilometers of raw, remote, and relentless riding awaits. Stage 5 is 137 kilometers with 1,580 meters of climbing, including the mighty Swarshoek Pass to Merino. The Queen stage is the longest of the race at 144 kilometers with an intimidating 1,700 meters of climbing to Guanishi, beautiful but brutal. And finally, Stage 7, the grand finish at Shamwari Private Game Reserve awaits. The 112 kilometers will flash by in a whirl of emotions and big game sightings before legends are crowned at the finish. In its first edition, the race has already drawn some of the world's cycling elite, champions from every discipline of the sport. Matt Beers has just returned after winning the Big Sugar in the USA, a 3-time Cape Epic winner, a habitual frontrunner. He is chasing another first on home soil. Tom Pidcock, the double Olympic mountain bike champion, Tour de France stage winner, and cyclocross world champion, his talent knows no bounds. Alison Jackson, a Paris-Roubaix champion and Vuelta stage winner, the Canadian road champion brings extroverted energy, flair, and power to the Karoo.
They race as foes by day, but each night they eat, recover, and laugh together in the same burn camps, a bond rarely seen in elite sport. On the eve of battle, anticipation hangs thick in the air. 520 riders from 28 nations gathered at the moorings in Knysna to start their collective adventure. Pros and amateurs, rivals and friends, each one chasing their own reason to ride, all burning with ambition.
The Nedbank Gravel Burn is 7 days of camping and racing through South Africa, which I'm very excited for.
Just seeing these new, cool, desolate places, I think is going to be actually really fun.
I'm just really keen to be part of the first edition and the vibe. You can already feel it here in the village at the start. It's going to be super cool.
The Nedbank Gravel Burn is an adventure. It's
the unknown coming together and pushing the benchmark of racing.
Rivals by day, companions by night. After each stage, everyone sleeps in the same camp, shares the same fire, the same experiences and colorful stories. This is racing in its purest form, riders in their bikes, each going full gas for 7 days.
The elite men's batch first to roll away from the moorings and through the misty streets of Knysna with the lagoon on the left-hand side. They had a brief moment to enjoy the sights and sounds and ponder what lay in store in the mist-shrouded ridgeline above town and into the Karoo. A selection of the world's toughest and most versatile riders cast furtive glances at each other. Marco Huber, the South African champion, enjoyed a stellar year this year. He's recovered from a knee injury. Hungry for success on home ground, all primed and in anticipation of the flag dropping at the base of the 3-kilometer Simola Hill. The flag dropped and immediately the group strung out as the pace intensified. Moolman-Pasio, runner-up in the Lifetime Series, in the mix already. Pace and McElveen on the far side, making the trip out from the United States, having raced all year. Onto the gravel for the first time, led by Tristan Nortje, but then Matt Beers, his fellow South African, goes to the front. Pretty familiar position for the South African as he sets the tempo in the pouring rain. A surge through the spectacular Knysna forest, stinkwoods, ironwoods and yellowwoods towering above them. Lucas Baum drove a hard pace. He looks for support and finds it from Ivar Slick, the rider from the Czech Republic, sets the tempo. Ramon Sinkeldam, credentialed road racer, bringing his form and his class to the Nedbank Gravel Burn. All fighting to stay in the bunch here. Chad Hager, richly experienced over the Grand Tours, he knows what to do over a 7-day state race. Beers on the front, setting the pace, keeping it steady. Still too early to fire shots. Up towards the Buffelsneck summit, the bunch all still together, keeping that steady pace. Today's serious challenge way down the road. Cold and rain playing a big role today, so nutrition absolutely, as always, vital. The descent is treacherous. Beers dropping to the back, making sure he stays out of trouble. Not so Lucas Baum, the buccaneering German, flying down the descent, taking risks. Will it pay off? Beers, sensing an opportunity, heads to the front. That's where he sits as they head up one of the shorter climbs after Buffelsneck. Over 5 kilometers here, the pace starting to get right. He's at the back of the group, under pressure, including Beers' teammate Johan van Zyl of Toyota Specialized. The young man from Wellington suffering, but he will hang in. Lucas Postelberger, the Austrian champion in the red and white stripes, right at the forefront of proceedings. De Vlucht, the second of the Padsdals. Very few riders stopped here as they surged across the Keerworms River over the low-level bridge, and the ramp started immediately. 14 kilometers of climbing up the 158-year-old Prince Alfred's Pass. Fueling critical, they still had a long way to go to ride up this pass. Beers, Andreas Seewald, the German champion, Austrian champion there, as well as the South African champion Marco Huber. All eyes on the big frame of the Specialized rider, Moolman-Pasio, on his wheel. Drechou, he shed his gilet. He meant business. Tristan Nortje under a bit of pressure as well. He had a tough day but recovered. As had Chad Hager, sitting second wheel here, kept fighting back, dropping off and fighting back again. So much experience in those legs. Halfway up the climb, it was a 3-man race. Matt Beers, Hugo Drechou, the French champion, and the battling, fighting Andri Frischknecht, a World Cup cross-country racer whose father is racing this race as well, the former world cross-country champion. Drechou and Beers tried all they could to get rid of the Swiss rider, surging on the gradients, but he kept fighting back. He uses hardtail mountain bike with drop handlebars to good effect in these conditions. However, Frischknecht might find that bike a different proposition in the drier, harder, compact surfaces deeper in the Karoo. Drechou looking very composed behind the lanky figure of Beers. Frischknecht never once came to the front. They headed down the descent towards Avontuur. Drechou on the front, Beers holding off a little, perhaps trying to hold Frischknecht away from the heat of the fire. Again, Frischknecht digging deep to latch onto the back of Drechou. Now, Beers on the front, looking over his shoulder, suspecting an attack perhaps. All is vigilant, aware of the danger posed by both Frischknecht and Hugo Drechou. With the burn camp in sight, they were into the final kilometer. This is where Beers is so at home. Power on the front, narrow into the corner, holds his line and keeps the dangerous Drechou off his wheel. Technical turns, Beers onto the grass, using that to his advantage. He is a canny racer in all conditions, holding the lead and keeping a pace neither of his chasers could match. Again, wide into the corner, Beers takes it, but Frischknecht sneaks in the inside using his XEO Smart to take second place ahead of Hugo Drechou. That though would be as good as it gets for the Swiss and French rider, because there was no stopping the powerhouse that is Matt Beers, a multiple champion in South Africa at the Cape Epic. He brings his American form back home a week after winning the Big Sugar Race in the United States. He wins stage 1 of the inaugural Nedbank Gravel Burn and into the leader's amber jersey. Second place to Andri Frischknecht, and third taken by the French champion Hugo Drechou. The elite women's batch was 25 strong and littered with some of the finest riders from all the different disciplines. Haley Preen, the champion of Africa and the champion of South Africa. Behind her, Axelle Dubau-Prevot, in conversation with another women's world tour star, Alison Jackson from Canada. The EF Education rider has been in Africa since the World Championships, a couple of weeks in South Africa, so she certainly is quite accustomed to this country at the moment. She is back and racing now and thoroughly enjoying the opportunity to race in South Africa. Catherine Colleen, some experience in a lifetime Grand Prix. Tough day for her. Sophie Wright and Clara Koppenberg also in this bunch, steady pace. And now onto the slopes of Samola Hill, which would be the first challenge of the day. And immediately the gap started to appear. Those who'd come to the race prepared would thrive. Those who'd had tough years and worked all year around the world would start to suffer. Marina Lutschel-Schwab in the mix there for the Bulls team. She's had some success in South Africa, but also some difficult years. American pair, Lawrence Stevens, the new American champion. In fact, the 3-time American champion, also there, Melissa Rollins. Koppenberg hanging onto the back of the bunch, the Cofidis rider. Out of the saddle is Sophie Wright. Madeline Nutt from Great Britain raced in the World Championships in Limburg, as did a number of these riders. Catherine Collins suffering, and Sophie Wright burst past her. Could be a long, hard day for the South African Colin today. In a small field, it can be a lonely place. Whitney Allison on her own. Catherine Collin looks over her shoulder, trying to hang on to the bunch here and salvage her day. Meanwhile, Sophie Wright weaving between the puddles, a treacherous trail and a treacherous road, but she manages to keep it steady. The ferns in the damp and rainy forest, an absolute picture. But these riders all suffering today on a brutally tough day. Rain and cold would play a big role in today's racing. Madeline Nutt managing the corner, taking it narrow and staying out of the corrugations. Absolutely key for the British rider. Keep it steady and safe. Clara Koppenberg. It's all about hydration, and she carries the hydration backpack under her gilet. So the group thinned out and the selection becoming more and more exclusive here. Axelle Dubau-Prevot, hugely successful on the UCI Gravel Series this year with regular victories and top 5 finishes. Haley Preen keen to make it a successful day for the South African. The African champion won in Namibia recently and also is straight back from the United States, racing in the Lifetime Grand Prix Series where she finished in a 9th place overall. Ashleigh Moolman-Pasio, one of the very few in this field who race almost exclusively on the road in Europe, but such a pedigree rider with 4 Olympic Games to her name. And with that sort of pedigree, you cannot rule Ashleigh out of the reckoning here. Irina Lutzel-Schwab flies through the second butt stall as Clara Koppenberg, perhaps sensibly, takes on nutrition, a couple more gels. She knows it's a 14-kilometer climb as they head up Prince Alfred's Pass. It's going to be a long and hard ride. Meanwhile, the leading riders have separated from the big bunch. It was a 4-strong group. Melissa Rollins as well as Axelle Dubau-Prevot, Haley Preen and Ashleigh Moolman-Pasio. This is Pasio's playground. She loves climbing. She's one of the most respected climbers on the Women's World Tour. Preen has gotten better and better all year, having recovered from a collarbone and wrist injury. She's looking in peak condition, but not able to keep the pace. So the first of that bunch of 4 to drop off the quartet as Moolman-Pasio and Dubau-Prevot up the tempo. Then it was Rollins, third in a Lifetime Grand Prix off the pace. Winner of Leadville this year, couldn't keep the pace of these 2 ferocious riders. The French rider, the last race she did was winning the national championships in France. Ashleigh Moolman-Pasio went to the World Championships once again this year. The conversation, as we learned later on between the two, revolved around Dubau-Prevot suggesting that she had too much respect for Moolman-Pasio to sprint her to the line, and she suggested that she would sit back. Moolman-Pasio, ever the competitor, ever the racer, said, "No, we race to the line," and that's what they did. Off the road and onto the final kilometer, and a dual track saw the French champion take to the front. A technical finish it was, left and right turns, and Moolman-Pasio just not able to hold the wheel of the French rider who drove for the finish through the orchards at the Burn camp in Avontuur, a crucial last couple of corners. Moolman-Pasio cautious, they do not want to lose it here and rule out any chance of winning. Into the finish chute of the Nedbank Gravel Burn. Into the finish chute of the Nedbank Gravel Burn, and too little time for Ashleigh Moolman-Pasio to get the better of Axelle Dubau-Prevot of France, and she would surge to the finish line to become the first woman to win a stage at the Nedbank Gravel Burn. Great ride by Ashleigh Moolman-Pasio, putting her name in lights and finishing in second place today.
Later, amateurs rolled in, dusty, exhausted, ecstatic. They captured Prince Alfred's Pass and joined the story.
Incredible, what an experience. Fantastic day against all the odds. Nedbank Gravel Burn, that's what it's all about.
Fantastic! Flipping freezing!
Yeah, looking forward to a shower.
And well done to the organisers. First stage of the first ever Nedbank Gravel Burn, and it was a peach.
1 day down, 6 more to go.
For the amateurs, the Gravel Burn is not about podium, it's about possibility. As night begins to fall on Avontuur, hospitalities are paused as rivals become companions once more.
And it's all about camaraderie. It's all about sitting at the fire, sharing your war stories, brings everyone all together. It gives the amateurs a chance to mingle with the pros and to hear their side of things in a non-official capacity. So looking forward to fires and to bonding with people that has the same passion as I have for gravel racing.
Stage 1 has delivered its first stories, triumph, heartbreak and discovery. But this is only the beginning. Tomorrow, the race heads into the deeper Karoo. From Avontuur to Ullamore. Fast, tactical, wind exposed. The open roads will test strategy and survival. The great Karoo awaits. This is the Nedbank Gravel Burn, 7 days of pure South African gravel.
Stage 2 starts fast. First bit of downhill into Uniondale through the Uniondale Poort.
Followed by a beautiful champagne gravel section before your roughest climb of the gravel burn.
There is one obstacle along the way, and we've called it the Shallot. The next section is smooth, it's fast, and bunch riding skills are really going to come to the fore here for the riders. It also features another unique point, and that's the Red Bull Kilometer. And this is a qualifier for the night burn.
After that, you end up on beautiful wide gravel road, and that should take you all the way to the finish. From Ullamore, there is a shuttle. Everyone will jump in a bus, and they'll head off to Frischknecht. My favorite stage of the Nedbank Gravel Burn, I think, will be stage 3, because that is the great reveal of the heart of the Karoo and the heart of the race.
90 kilometers, 1,450 meters of climbing. Deceptive, because this is a stage of 2 halves. The first half, a drag up to Conical Peak, that's at the 40-kilometer mark.
The last 15 kilometers will include a stretch next to a railway line, followed by a 10-kilometer relatively flat stretch, but still slightly uphill, into the burn camp at Blauwater.
When the sun sets, it's the night burn. It's a fun Chase the Fox criterium style race, powered by DJs and lit by bonfires. Stage 4 is a loop stage. There is a certain romance to the journey from point to point, but the route that this stage takes is absolutely unmissable.
The route starts in Blauwater, underneath the Lootsburg Pass, climbs sharply for a few kilometers.
Amazing views, tough climbs, super rewarding descents, and that entire stage is 100% gravel. You will not see any tar.
Stage 4 also features the highest point in the race at 1,894 meters.
This is a really nice climb up the back of the Kompasberg, followed by a spectacularly long, fast flowing downhill to just outside New Bethesda, where the second Patstal is at 79 kilometers.
New Bethesda, quaint little town in the middle of the Karoo. Village is probably more appropriate to say. It's an absolute jewel.
From New Bethesda, we go steeply up all the way to the final descent, which is very fast down into Blauwater, the same camp that we left from.
In the burn camps, you create friendships beyond the event itself. We had baristas that were serving us. After a long day out on the bike, you get to be treated like a VIP.
Stage 5, Blauwater to Merino Farm, 137 kilometers and 1,580 meters of climbing.
I think both Blauwater and Merino Farms offer the true Great Karoo experience of mountain backdrops with big sky and vistas and silence.
If there was ever a stage about bunch riding politics, power and skill, it's this one. Riders need to stay in the bunch as long as they possibly can.
The finish line is on the very top of the Swaziland Pass. 13.4 kilometers and 750 meters of climbing. That'll test the best of you. And so that leaves you with a gentle freewheel down the hill to the burn camp at Merino at the bottom.